Hey guys and girls, it's Blackjack with 396 Guitars. We have a Fender Stratocaster Signature Series Eric Clapton modern guitar. Interesting instrument. I stepped on my crank when the customer brought it in because I was uneducated about this little instrument. So let's get to work. Remember, if you dig what I'm doing, like and subscribe. So I never claim to know it all. Customer brought it in, good customer of mine, brings me a lot of his guitars, almost all of his guitars. Every time he buys a new guitar, he brings it to me, or if his old guitars need mods or cleanup, setup, whatever, brings them in. Very neat. First of all, very pretty. It's a throwback guitar, Eric Clapton signature. It's modern. I think it's a 23. He bought it from brand new online from a store that has gone the way of the dodo bird. I'm not going to belabor that. We all know who they are. It's sad that they're gone, but somebody bought them out, bought their inventory out, and they're still selling it online only. But you still get all the benefits. You can return it if you want, whatever. Interesting. He goes, this has got an active circuit in it. And I go, no, it doesn't. It's a Stratocaster. And, I may have heard about it, may not have, may have forgotten. Maybe I'm just getting old and senile. But I argued with him. And he goes, no, it's got an active circuit in it. And I already took the back off, and I'm going to reveal that in a moment because, yeah, that was kind of a reveal moment. He kept insisting, and I go, okay, and yeah, sure enough, there's a battery in there. I had heard about these mods that somebody started way back when, and it's got an MDX. Instead of a tone, it's kind of that's your active circuit, this bottom tone right here. And I'm going to demonstrate that in a moment. Pretty interesting, but of course, Eric Clapton never did this, and he very likely never did this. What he did do is block out the trem system. He never had any need for it. So I guess that's pretty standard. With Eric Clapton Signature Series stuff, or, to follow what he did back in the day. We're talking back in the 60s and 70s, whatever. Put a block of wood in there. Completely and totally unnecessary, by the way. All you got to do is drive in the claw screws and you don't have to go all the way like they did here. I mean, they mean business. You might as well have poured concrete in there. You don't need to. Once you drive those claw screws all the way in, it will pull your bridge down tight against the body, and you won't have any whammy. He always said, I have no need for it. I don't need it. I don't want it. And somewhere along the line, a famous guitar tech, you guys look it up or educate me, came up with that system blocking that. So that goes all the way back to the day. So the active circuit is this guy right here, and I have heard about people doing this to get Stevie Ray Vaughan sound, that extra crunch and grind. It's got a 5-way switch in it, master volume, middle tone, and weird, the middle tone has a detent at 5. I don't know why, but it does. And then this little guy right here, and I'm going to demonstrate what it actually does. So we're in the neck pickup, and for noiseless pickups, that was the first thing that I noticed. Listen. Got a ground issue somewhere. Some people will say, oh no, that's the 60 cycle hump. No, that's something different. But I'm going to let him, my objective, my mission today is to unblock it, the trem, set it up as a floating bridge, and make the whammy work. But I wanted to describe and explain all this fun stuff. So volume, typical, okay. I would say there's 250Ks in there because it's got a nice sweep all the way around, not just from 7 to 10. Tone. And then I'm sure the mic is picking up on that, but it's like an active. It is an active circuit. I'm not going to pull all this off and show that because it's too nice a guitar and it doesn't need it. But that's a boost. Now I'm turning the tone knob down here, so it says tone on it, but it's not a tone knob. It has nothing to do with tone. It has to do with mid-range boost. It's basically a mid boost, and that's the thick of your sound in the middle of the wave. But it acts like an overdrive pedal that you have on board, and that's the whole key behind that. MDX. Yeah, very cool if that's what you like. Piece of tape over here. I'm assuming we're going to find a. I assume we're going to find a little spring down in there. And I'm going to pull this off and see there probably is a little whammy bar spring down in there. And that's the way they keep it from finding a new home where you don't want it to. Just put a little piece of tape on it. And they always get lost. I usually keep some of them in my little bag of tricks. I don't know. I put one. Yep, there it is. There it is. And those things always get lost. That's why the tape on there. And here's the oddity, you know. Once you set this as a floater, every time you put it back in the case, you have to take the trem bar off, the whammy bar, and that leaves that open so that you have to remember to pull that out and save it somewhere, or put a piece of tape over it. Otherwise, you'll lose it. And then what happens when you put your whammy bar in there? Is this thing even going to work? Boy, it's really an oddball angle because of the way they have it pulled up in the back. It may not go in because of... In fact, it does not want to go in, and I'm not going to force it because I have to undo everything in the back. The idea is that little spring that most people don't even know about because they lose it almost instantly is... Put this down in there and you turn it until it stops and then give it one more turn, and now you put pressure on the spring so when you hit the whammy you push it out of the way and it'll stay there. It won't flop around loosely. All right, so yeah, I'm concerned about that, but I think once we unblock it and get the tension off, we'll know more. I wonder where the neck relief is. Always have to check that first. It's actually perfect. Well, I know I don't have to monkey with that. String height is gonna change, so there's no sense in checking that now because we've got to set this as a floater, and that will affect string height. And then we're going to check intonation and do a setup on it. We're not taking the strings off. We're not going through all that rigmarole. But this we got to get to. So, blocking a trim. I just don't understand why you would do that. And they have driven the screws completely into the body, which with 5 springs on it will put so much pressure on that block and keep it from coming off of the body on the other side that you do not need that. They have wedged a piece of wood in there, and I mean it's wedged in there. So the only thing I can think to do is pull the springs out. And I don't know if we're going to need 5 of them to do the setup on it. Boy, that thing is wedged in there. It does not want to come out. So, Jesus, why would they do that? And I can guarantee that it has dented into the clear coat and the paint up on this side. Yeah, very odd. I'm going to off camera. That is really going to be a problem getting that out of there. I may have to drill into it and try to pop it out with a screw. Stand by, because I don't want to get grinding on it laterally because of the paint, obviously. And I think if I drill into it, drive a screw into it, and just try to, that way I have something to pull back on. So stand by. So just to explain where we're at, I drilled a small hole, put a screw in there, put a couple of blocks, like so, as a pry surface, and tried to pop that factory installed wood block. And my guess is that it was put in there before the paint was completely cured, or it's just too big and they really hammered it in there, because it ain't coming out that way. So what we're going to have to do is de-string it and actually take the bridge off of the other side, the entire bridge and saddle assembly. 6 screws. We're going to de-string it, take these 6 screws out and try to pull it out this way. We're going to have to pull the bridge out, and at least that way I'll be able to tap lightly on the trem block and push it through the other side. Eventually that will break loose. I think it's just wedged in there and it's stuck on the paint and it's stuck into this, and yeah, what a fail. What an absolute factory fail. So I will return momentarily after I get the strings off and we get prepared to pull these. I'm going to pull all the screws out, and then on camera we're going to learn together whether this thing will tap out or not. Tap out. He said tap out. Stand by. So I took all the screws out from the other side, and as soon as I took the screws out, it wasn't coming out, and all I did was go pink like that, and I was right. It was just wedged in there, and it was caught on probably the paint. There's paint all over it right there, and that's what it was, all wedged all the way down in there, paint and compound, and just a total fail. I don't know why anybody would do that. Of course, now our bridge is completely out. I don't know what Fender is thinking with stuff like this, but it's a fail. To me, it's a fail, and it has totally pulled it down into and indented into the paint clear coat, but you'll never see that. That part doesn't scare me at all. Now, I recently did a video on how to set these, take them out and redo them. Change your trem block or change the bridge assembly on it. Get away from the paint. It's pretty straightforward stuff, but I'm going to show you how to do it again right now. There is a process, but before we do that, I want to see why this didn't want to go in. Where can I do this away from the paint on the guitar? Yeah, it's going in. Must be it's just too new. Yeah, it's okay. Sorry, my big fat head is in the way. Big fat Italian head. Very cool. Okay. So yeah, the bridge has to go back in, and this is a floater, so it's kind of shaped like a ski in the front. It goes like that and then tilts out because it has to be able to tilt on the body. When you hit the whammy bar, it has to be able to tilt. So the screws, the mounting screws, are not really mounting screws, as it were, because they are threaded, and then there's unthreaded part right there. So the way to do this, and the way I do it, is you put the middle one in, and I'm going to show you because there's no springs attached to it, and it's really super simple. You start in the middle. There's 6 of them. Now, pay close attention. As you get down to the bottom and you start to tighten that up, the back of the bridge is going to lift off of the body as you tighten that screw down. When it does that, it just did it. You see, the bridge lifted away from the body right there. That screw now needs to be backed off until the bridge flops back down onto the body. And then go 1/4 turn past that, just so it's just barely sticking up there. That gives the bridge, and once all 6 screws are in there, so that it can have that movement when you hit that trim bar, right? And perfecto. So pause quickly while I put the rest of them in and adjust them. You have to do them individually, one at a time. Start in the middle and work your way out. And you do it the same way. This one's already set. So the next one that goes in, you're going to do the same process. You just drive it in until the back of the bridge lifts off of the body. I'm trying to illustrate this without my hand being in the way. Right there. It just lifted up. Once that happens, you back off the screw until it drops all the way down and lays flat against the body, and then another 1/4 turn. That's it. Those 2 screws are set. So stand by while I put the rest of them in. So when you get done putting these screws in, you should be able to easily. That's as far as that'll never need to go that far up. But that's what you have to do. Now, on the back, we have to pull out our trim claw. Got to come out considerably. And at this juncture, I'm just going to guess. I hope that they were put in there at a good angle, and the screw heads don't get boogered up. And nope. So be ever so careful doing this, because sometimes they're supposed to go in at an angle like this, and if they're too straight, it's easy to booger up the screw head. And trust me when I tell you, you don't want to do that. So just ever so carefully start pulling them out. And I'm going to show you where I'm guessing to start, because my mission, as I said, was to set this up as a floating bridge, which is what Leo and Fender intended. Eric Clapton notoriously said, I never use that and I don't want it, but I love the Fender Stratocaster. Okay, drive the trim claw screws in. No, they took it a step further and put a block in there. Now, putting a block in a Floyd Rose that you want to lock up, yeah, I can almost understand that. But on a Fender Stratocaster, all you have to do, all that's necessary, is to drive the trim claw screws all the way in, or until it puts so much pressure on the block that it pulls the bridge tight against the body. Then it'll never work. You can't pull it. The string tension will never overtake the spring tension. So let's take a look at that. I don't know. I'm going to start there, but I'm not going to put 5 springs on it. It just doesn't, it won't need it. I'm going to pull it out to where we're about, give or take, an inch away. And yeah, if you want to get hairy and measure it, go ahead. Or not an inch, a centimeter. A little bit more. Sorry. An inch would be all the way out to here. And that I know it doesn't need to go that far. Just get it out to where you got about a half an inch or a centimeter. Right? And that's a good starting point. And you know what we're facing because this guitar was never set up as a floater. It's going to be a complete setup now. And now we can go ahead and put in, I'm going to just start with, wow, these are really, really solid springs. So guaranteed, I know I don't need to use them all. I'm going to put 3 of them on. If they cooperate. Yep, I think 3 will be perfectly acceptable. I have put 5 on guitars. I've had 4, 3, 5. You never know. And forget about that monkey business where you go, you know, a triangle in there. I don't agree with that. One in the middle and one on each end. If you put these outer 2 in here, it's only the center spring that's really doing all the work. And you'll end up having these too far out or too far in. Yeah. This is where you want to be as a good starting point. If I need to put 2 more in, well, we have them. I don't think we will. And these should be about even just by eyeballing them. You want the same amount of spring tension on both sides of the block in the middle. And we should be good there as a starting point. Wow. You follow all this so far, guys? Now that we have spring tension, I want to make sure that this goes in. I was a little concerned about it when it was blocked all the way up. Oh no, we're good. Yeah, it's going right in. And remember, we're going to put our spring back in there later on. Yep. Okay. So that spare parts for now. Very nice. We're not doing anything with the frets or the board. He said he already cleaned it up. He said he set his string height up when he got the guitar. He likes to watch my videos and generally screws his instruments up and then brings them to me to get them fixed. Did I say that out loud? Sorry, you know who you are. I won't mention any names, but his initials are, never mind. Okay, so let's get some strings on it. I'm going to do a complete setup on it now because we have no choice. We had this all apart. We took the block out. It was set as a hardtail, and when I tell you hardtail, I mean it was set as a hardtail. Like overkill set as a hardtail. Strings. So I'm not going to show you this part because it will take up time, and I really only want this to be one video, but we're already getting long. So stand by. So we're all strung up. I pre-stretched the strings. And I gotta say, I'm pretty close where I set the trem claw, but we don't have enough here. I like to see a 1/16 of an inch, and we're not there. Make sure I'm using the right feeler gauge. Yeah. .062 1/16. And you have to have a little bit of bridge lift. Because when you hit it, it's got to go back and then find its equilibrium. It's just too close. You can see there's hardly anything there. Some guys will tell you if you can put a business card under there, it's enough. It's not. It's not. I like it a little bit higher. So what is happening is we have too much spring tension. So we have to, I'm going to pull these out at this juncture. Just not even a full turn. I'm going to go half a turn each until I get where I want to be. And many of you have seen this exercise, and it is time consuming. And what we just did was took some of the spring tension off of the back, off of the trem block, and now we're applying more string tension. And it will continue to pull up. The strings are now going to start pulling up a little bit so I can get the lift measurement that I want. And sometimes at this juncture, it's best to just wait. See, I got a little bit. I got a little bit more. It's almost there. And to go by what some guys will say, if you can slide a business card under there, you're good. I think that's too tight. I like to get a 1/16 of an inch there and have it be stable there. So at this point, we're going to kind of just say, yeah, we're going to leave it, and then I'm going to let it settle overnight, and we're going to finish the setup in a part 2. I didn't want to do a part 2. But we may have to, because this will just take too much time. And I can't set the string height and the intonation and all that other stuff. We know the neck relief is good, but the string height and intonation, I can't really do that until I get the trem set and stable. And it's stable right now. But I'm not 100% sure I like where we're at. You follow? It's coming right back into tune. I mean, it's coming right back into tune. We are almost there. It is just starting at 16th. I'm gonna, against my better judgment, I'm gonna say, yep, that's good. Because I'd like to get this all in one video. I really would. It's a little longer than I like them to be, but let's put our spring in, because we forgot that. Yeah, this is supposed to have a spring in it, although it doesn't seem to that it needs it, but supposed to have it, and we're going to put it in. Otherwise, we could be going down too far with our whammy bar. And you'll know when it hits the spring, it'll get stiff. And just go just past it. Now you can move it, and wherever you put it, it'll stay. Even there, backed off. It's a little too loose there, but that's up to the player. Hey, guitar wants what it wants, and it's actually starting to get stable. So I'm going to move forward with and try to get this all in. Where are we? We are right at 5/64. 5 over 5, 6, almost 6. Just over 5. So we're all over the place. And that doesn't surprise me because having all that stuff apart. So he wants it set at 4/64. What we can do, I'm gonna adjust these off camera. It just takes too long to fine tune all that stuff. I'm going to call that good. Oh, sweet. I may not have to do the intonation. Make sure you're dead on open, harmonic, and then at the 12th, you can go to the 17th if you want, but you know anybody who's watched my videos, I defy the ear to pick that up. Intonation is so dead on, it's not even funny. So we're going to call that a success. It's coming right back, and I know once it sits overnight, it's going to become even more stable. I mean, you can really dive on it. I'd like a little bit more lift there, but you can see there's some. You can just see there's just a little bit of bridge lift there. That's okay. That's what it's supposed to be. If you can, go with a 1/16 of an inch, and my tool just gets caught on it, we're good. We're totally good. Didn't need those, and it certainly didn't need 5 of them, and the trem claw screwed all the way in, and a piece of hardwood oak blocking it. Talk about overkill and marketing overkill. It's Blackjack with 396 guitars, Eric Clapton Signature Series, and it's kind of a retro thing. The only thing is, Eric never had a battery in any of his guitars, and he certainly didn't have any kind of a boost switch or anything in it. He didn't ever use a trem, and that's why he had his blocked, and that's why they blocked this one. Point of interest, I forgot to mention, the customer goes, why is the pick guard lifting right here? Well, that's because they put half as many screws in the old Strats only had a few screws holding the pick guard on. You're missing one here, you're missing one here. I think you're missing one right over here, and maybe one there. And it's a single ply. It's not a 3-ply. It's just a single piece of pick guard. It's not a 3-ply. yeah, throwback stuff. I get it. I get it. It's a throwback, but not really, because that and the battery makes it not a throwback in any way, shape, or manner. But it's still a really cool guitar and very hot with that feature, because you can, without hitting a distortion pedal, you can jack it up and it will sound like you just hit an overdrive or a distortion pedal. Thanks for watching. I try to look at all your comments, and I try to answer them. Please share, like, and subscribe. I love you all. Talk soon.